teachers so they can be my critics. One of the most important things that I am trying to do as a lecturer or a teacher is to be the teacher of teachers. You know, we need to teach people to be teachers. And so how do we do that? Well, first of all, when I'm teaching all of you, when I'm sharing this information, you are now a teacher. That is your commission. And that is what I really want to end with, is that you will understand the responsibility of these simple doctors, that they will heal people of cancer. When people, like I was mentioning, when people say, no, you can't say that, that's not politically correct. My God doesn't have limitations like that. He can heal people of cancer if he wants to. And when you look at it like that, I have never found a true Seventh-day Adventist person that can say that, well, no, God can heal and he can do a lot, but he can't heal cancer because the American Cancer Society says it can't be healed, so God can't do it. That's craziness. God can heal any disease if he wants to. I believe with all my heart that what God wants is for our cooperation. He wants for us to do our part and not stand at the edge of a cliff, as I like to say, and jump off without a parachute and pray, God, please help me. We're going to get hurt jumping off a cliff without a parachute. But we have to do our part. So to be a teacher of these things, to teach people how to be healthy, to be a teacher, that is my most important aspect of teaching now, is to make sure I drive it into the people's minds that they are now a teacher. So as a teacher, my last closing thought, I promise, as a teacher, I want you to know that your purpose as a teacher and as a Seventh-day Adventist for teaching this New Start program is to lead people to a better knowledge and understanding and relationship with Jesus. And that's why we have trust in God. And a lot of times we just say trust. I do that when I work with the agnostics and the people that don't believe in God, you know, atheists. I say, oh, this is trust. Because if I say this is trust in God, they're going to slam the door in my face. But I say, well, we're just talking about health. Oh, yes, I have cancer. Come on in. Come on in. You know, I talk about all this and I get down to trust. And then I'm their friend. I'm helping them get over cancer. And I can introduce them to the God that we believe in. The Savior that saved us. And so this really is the right arm of the gospel. It's a way of reaching people from all walks of life around the world, whether they believe in God or not. Everybody, and I look at the camera here, everybody doesn't want to be in pain. Nobody wants to feel sick. And some people want to die. They don't care about life. But if you put them in a painful situation, they're like, no, I don't want to be in a painful situation. So whether you want to live longer or whether you just want to live better, and you want to live healthier, and you don't want to be in pain, these principles, camera, up here, New Start, nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, and trust in God, are what we teach as the 8 doctors of health. Thank you so much. Or, you know, worthy of checking out. So, who's my operating? Okay, you. Okay, sorry. I just need to know who my people are. So, go ahead and play that really quick.
Where, which one?
Your song.
Exercise, eat wisely, love the Lord and people, and have a good attitude. As I told you, your attitude is 90% and circumstances are 10.
She is 101 years old. Marge Jennings, those are her tips on living longer. We'll have more from her and others like her coming up.
So our exercise class is held in the faith, one's community, along with a good, healthy diet and exercise program, together, combined, can result in significant improvement of longevity.
Marge Jennings is one other quality that leads to longevity.
a good sense of humor.
Not only do you not look 101, you don't look 91. You look about 81.
Well, keep talking.
Marge says it all comes back to faith and embracing every day.
How does it make you feel that you've reached this age and are in the shape you are, such good shape?
I marvel at it.
Marge and Minnie are very inspirational women. It's very nice to do such an inspirational story. And here's a good addition to it. 101-year-old Marge does a lot of volunteer work at the hospital, at her church, and last night, a civic group in Southern California gave her the Philanthropist of the Year award. And I will tell you, Anderson, I would like, 4 decades from now, I'm in a position to win some type of award.
She's remarkable. And to see her working out at 101 is just incredible. She walks faster. So.
She does a lot more than most of us.
Yeah, I know. I was watching her thinking, I really got to start going to the gym. Really I think she's lifting more weights than I should.
So, how many like that? Basically, what I wanted you to see is that the world now, the entire world, all the elite in Europe, all around the world, China, have now been introduced to the Seventh-day Adventist Church as the healthiest people on the planet. And so that's a neat thing, okay? And I would like to say that as a Seventh-day Adventist American coming to the Philippines, I would like to be able to have an impact that God could use me, that the Philippine country could also come up the scale of it in health, and follow not the American SAD diet, which is the standard American diet, but the Seventh-day Adventist American diet. Okay, the Philippines tends to follow the United States, but as we heard from our lecture this morning, or when I spoke for main worship, we're not to conform to this world. So it's really exciting that. It's really exciting that the world now knows about the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the health message, as we understand, as a church basic fundamental understanding, is that the health message is an opening wedge into the gospel. That Jesus, when he was on this earth, his main ministry first was attending to the physical needs of the people. If they were sick, he healed them. If they were hungry, he fed them the fish and the bread. You understand? And then he would teach them. A lot of the ministries today, they make you come in and hear a big long sermon and then they feed you afterwards. I like to follow Jesus' example and feed them. And then if they want to listen, fine. But if they don't want to listen, they're free to go. God gives us a free choice. Now I have one other video, maybe a little less time than that. It's important because I want you to see kind of, it's not just me. This is big. This is the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and now it is, it's a basic ministry concept that I am helping with. And that the world is now on board. And so one of our Seventh-day Adventist professors who teaches pastors in the United States, his name is Dwight Nelson. Dwight Nelson, has anyone heard of Dwight Nelson? Yeah, Morning Devotion. You know, I didn't even know about that book until I came here, and then I realized it's a popular book and people are reading it. Yeah, so it's a nice book. I met him probably 10 years ago, and he had lectured, and I talked to him after the lecture, and he put his arm around me, and we talked a little bit, and we prayed together, and he spent some one-on-one personal time counseling me. And I was always impressed with his down-to-earth, personal way of ministering to people. He's not putting himself up on it. He's a really notable person. To be someone that high up as a teacher of pastors and not have a scandal about you. One of the devil's tools that he tries to create problems within our Christian community, our Seventh-day Adventist community, I hope I'm not talking too fast, I'm so sorry, is to create gossip scandals and try to create problems in relationships and marriages. Dwight Nelson has been blessed by God in keeping a standard, and people respect him. And so there are things that he is able to say in a health lecture that I cannot say without offending people and people just like really getting upset. In fact, numerous people that I know, even in their 60s, who are health evangelists that have been lecturing for 40 years, they let Dwight Nelson tell some of the things that they can't say because they feel like maybe they would be in really big trouble or offending. So I'm going to let Dwight Nelson say some things because people know who Dwight Nelson is. He's highly respected. He trains the pastors in the United States. Okay, go ahead and push play, and then I'm going to have you go forward a little bit. Push play. This is Dwight Nelson doing a health lecture. Sorry, it's not the same DVD. I thought he had like multiple DVDs stacked in there. In my DVD player, and the one we have is you can turn. This shall be your meat, M-E-A-T. So when the Bible first refers to meat, when Moses first referred to meat, it didn't mean animals. It meant food. The word meat means food. Okay? And it says every herb-bearing seed. What that means is anything that has a seed within itself, that is your meat. And that's what Adam and Eve ate. And a lot of people believe that that's what we're going to be eating in heaven because, you know, the Bible is about a Garden of Eden and heaven. And then it was lost through sin and the tree of knowledge and good and evil. And then the Bible is all about all the problems. And the Israelites were always wanting their meat. And God said, okay, I'm going to let you have it. Then there were diseases that came through. And the Bible says they died with the meat in their teeth. And then, as he said, no, we don't want to die anymore. We want the manna back. So he gave them manna. And they started getting healthy. And as you read the Bible, it ends with Revelation. And it starts talking about how we're going to get heaven back. And Jesus came to be our example. And so we're looking towards heaven, right? And so the original diet, Genesis 1:29, God had it right, and it's really amazing. I have some videos with me. They're right here, and I would be willing to share if anyone keeps in touch with me. These are for free as far as I can't, what I mean is downloading, copying them. There's no problem doing that. There are some secular medical studies. For example, an Australian man with a lot of health problems on medications and drugs and everything from the doctors decided, I'm going to go to America and I'm just going to eat plants for 60 days, or I'm going to drink the juice of plants for 60 days and see what happens. And he did a reality TV documentary movie. It is a bestseller. It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And I have it here, and it shows what happens in 60 days if you eat the Garden of Eden diet. Every problem went away. Is that the diabetes? I have, in fact, documented hundreds and hundreds of studies where when they eat God's diet, their health problems disappear. All of them. 256 different illnesses have completely disappeared. So, nutrition, initially, God had this plan in Genesis 1:29 for everything that grew off a tree as a fruit. But in verse 30, what's interesting is sin happened, and God said, I'm going to let you have now the herbs of the field for the healings of the nation. So, herbs, we all agree, in the Philippines, it's known that herbs are good for you. An herb is a leaf. So that's the one thing I want to, in this nutrition subject, I want to get it across. When I ask Filipinos, so you eat vegetables? They say, yes, we eat vegetables. Yes. Okay, what kind of vegetables do you eat? Who would like to tell me a vegetable they eat?
Vegetables, carrots.
Volunteer. Volunteer. Over here or over here? Do I have a volunteer? The vegetable. Okay, what's the vegetable? What? Amalaya, what is that? Is that a vegetable?
Bitter corn.
What? The bitter melon? The bitter gourd? It's a gourd? Does it have a seed in it?
Yes.
Okay, that's a fruit. So if it has a seed in it, that means it's a fruit. Okay, so ask someone else here.
Cabbage.
Tell me a vegetable you eat. I don't know what that is. Okay, malunggay is a vegetable. Good for you. Okay, what about you? Okay, kamote tops is a vegetable. Good job. Okay, how about this lady over here? She's not shy. She's our host talker. It's shy. I don't know what that is. Is that a vegetable?
Yes?
It's a vegetable. Cabbage is a vegetable. Okay.
Lettuce.
So typically what they say is they say, well, yeah, we have squash and okra and eggplant and every single thing they have just named is a fruit, not a vegetable. So I wanted you to know that most of the things that people think they eat in this country that are vegetables are actually fruits. And they're in the Genesis 1:29 diet, but not in verse 30 where sin came and he says, now, in order to have health, you're going to have to eat the vegetables or the leaves of the trees. They're going to be bitter as a reminder of sin in a lot of cases. Herbs are bitter, but that's good for the liver, and that's an herb. There's medicinal plants, leaves, and there's nutritional leaves. Okay? They're all nutritional, but some, the more medicinal, are more bitter. They're more medicinal and you eat less. But the ones that are more nutritional, like kamote leaves, they're not so bitter, and they're really good. And those are the ones we should eat more of, is those green leafy vegetables. It's really interesting. A study was done just to look at the green blood of a plant. And the only thing different between the red blood of a human and the green blood of a plant was the center molecule of a green plant was magnesium, and in your blood it was iron. So it makes it red or green with magnesium. Now what's interesting is if you drink that juice or get that juice into your body, there is a transaction or a miracle that takes place, and that green juice turns to blood. Throughout, with the digestive system, it is able to convert it to blood. So it's like a blood transfusion, but not really a blood transfusion. So it's really good to get your greens, and what people are finding now, natural healing experts, and in a clinic that I worked at in California, that it has to be green, and it needs to, if at all possible, be juiced so you can concentrate that, in other words, and get it into the blood so the blood can heal the cancer and those things. So I'm not going to go a lot into all of the bad foods. All I need to say is, in the beginning, God didn't plan on there being any death. He didn't plan on there being any bloodshed. Those things were allowed at the time of the flood. They were allowed to shorten man's life, to, as we read in the Scripture prophecy and the Bible. They were allowed because there was no food on. I mean, after the flood, there was no vegetation. And so there were all kinds of different problems. But now, it's not an issue of, I'm not trying to make it an issue of you're sinning or you're not sinning. If you have cancer, you don't want to have cancer. It's painful. So I'm here to tell people how to avoid. It's called the preventative medicine, how to avoid the cancers. I'm here to tell you how to get well. Now, some people say, well, it's said in medical literature, and it's not politically correct to say that it's curable, right? No, there's no cure for it, because the American Cancer Society hasn't said there's a cure. They're still looking for a cure. Millions and millions of dollars are put into this finding a cure. They're still driving their limousines, or they're riding in their limousines and living in their penthouses, but there's no cure. Now, that corporation was set up that when there's a cure, it dissolves. I happen to know some of the people, I've met them in that corporation. They don't want it to dissolve. They're going to lose their job. So I don't believe there's going to be a cure found for cancer through a pill. What I believe is that the cure for cancer is the immune system. And how we support the immune system is by our diet and lifestyle. Correct? So nutrition is important. I'm not going to go into all the things you shouldn't eat. I believe that each person here knows in their heart what is the most healthiest. All animals get all of their nutrition from plants. When you eat an animal, you're getting that nutrition secondhand in a package of cholesterol, bad fat, and the disease of the animal and the poisons. Most animals are given 6 times. The government allows 6 times more antibiotics given to animals than allowed in people. And the reason why is because they don't really care if there's a mortality rate. It's just a money thing. It's not an issue like with humans. And if they're almost dead, they can still sell them for food. So there's a lot of antibiotics, which is a poison, in the animal, which goes into the food, and then people eat it. So animals are becoming more diseased. Plants, there's some poisons on them, but if you wash that off, if you grow your plants, they are still the best source of nutrition. Interestingly enough, in this video with this elderly lady, 1905, a man was born in a tent, December 7, 1905, on the grounds of the Seventh-day Adventist Hospital, before it was built, not in the Philippines, but in Oregon, United States of America. And that man grew up. At weaning time, his mother tried to feed him meat. He spit it out. The dad got angry and put meat in his mouth and held it shut, gave him a spanking. He still spit it out. So they decided, well, they're just going to feed him fruit and apples and things like that, berries. And eventually, that young man went to school, went to an Adventist college, became a minister, took pre-med, and later in his life, at age 65, he decided to retire. Now, he had been married 10 years, but at his retirement and being married 10 years, he decided to start a family. And so the first and second child were born 18 months apart, and that was my sister and I. And so my father was 65 years old when I was born, and when he was 100 years old, I have a video of him and I swimming in the lake together. My father experienced, in my life, 0 disease. He was a vegan from birth. And I was telling the pastor, when he finally passed away from a tragic situation, I had his body examined and they found no disease and no health problems whatsoever with my father. So I want to say that I know firsthand, personally, that following a strict plant-based diet, you can avoid all of the diseases. Now, a sickness and a disease is a little bit different. Sickness is an effort of nature to free itself from conditions that result in disease. That's what we learned from Ministry of Healing and Health and Happiness. Disease is like cancer, diabetes. A sickness is like a fever.
Yeah.
It's like a cold or a cough. And so when you have those symptoms, you need to recognize that those symptoms are an effort of nature to free itself from conditions. There's 2 different texts. One is conditions caused from a violation of the laws of health, or it's an effort of nature to free itself from conditions